I have no idea who had the bright idea of putting walnuts in brownies. I mean, what are they thinking? They give you these brownies, serve you these brownies, and they're chocolate, and they're moist, and they're so tasty, and you just sink your teeth into them, and you hit a walnut. I gotta tell you, I don't like walnuts. I like cashews; they're nice and tasty, but walnuts, well, they're good for you, right? If you have inflammation, if you have gout, they say they're really good for that. Why are we talking about nuts? Why are we talking about brownies? What does that have to do with the topic at hand, which happens to be how we get hooked by narcissists and psychopaths? Well, it's got something to do with it, believe me. We're going to get to that in just a moment, but what we have here are like, I'm not sure we want to call these 9 steps of being hooked by a narcissist, but I think a better term would be phases. So 9 phases of being hooked by a narcissist, and surprisingly, it happens fairly quickly. Well, number 1 is this. You already know this if you know anything about narcissists or psychopaths or dark triad narcissists. Let's call them covert narcissists. You know it always begins with love bombing, right? And so love bombing to me, and here's the connection of the analogy. Love bombing to me is like the brownie, without the nuts, just the brownie. Because man, I love that thing. Okay, you can add a little vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream. What is that swirl stuff? I don't know, pistachio or whatever. And no, I don't want that. But yeah, I will take it. And it's not necessarily good for me, but it tastes so good. I take that all day long. So the narcissist during the love bombing stage, again, this is analogous to serving you something that you really love. It's brownies. I mean, what a nice person. I mean, how could anybody love me anymore than to treat me the way that I want to be treated? Now, that kind of sounds like a romance, is that right? And a lot of times it begins with, a romance begins with love bombing. In fact, virtually every romance, it seems like, begins with love bombing. But sometimes that the grooming stage, it's not sincere. Well, how do you know? Because narcissists are such good actors. They pull it off easily in most cases. Sometimes they pull it off for a very long time. It's not just a romance, could be a friendship, could be any area where the person targets you. The narcissist, the psychopath targets you so they can abuse you, take advantage of you for their advantage. To their advantage, well, what we're talking about is getting supply out of you, which means just simply boosting their ego, inflating their ego. So they start out, figuratively speaking, by serving you brownies without the walnuts. And you love them, and they give you more and more and more and more, and you are so grateful you got this guy in your life. Could be a good friend. Man, here's somebody that finally understands me. They get me. They don't criticize me. They're not judgmental, but they understand my brilliance. They see the good side of me, and or if it's a love relationship, this is somebody who really adores me and is not going to take advantage of me. Well, you're in for a shock. So the first thing is they put you on this pedestal. They treat you like you're very special. They make you feel very special. They serve you brownies without the nuts, without the walnuts. Number 2 is this. So now what happens is you kind of get hooked on those brownies. You get hooked on the narcissist approach. You get hooked on the narcissist because you think this guy, whoever it is, really, really, well, we have a connection. There's that sympathy going on between the two of us, synthetic or whatever you want to call it. They get me. All right. And they're bringing more brownies. Cool. Man, I love brownies. And so you bite into the brownie, and there it is. For the first time ever, there's a walnut in the brownie. And, okay, you don't say anything. You go ahead and eat it because, well, maybe the narcissist likes walnuts, and, well, this is a give and take relationship, so you'll take the brownie with the walnuts. Cool. Next time, just good brownies without the walnuts, but then the time after that, there's more walnuts. I mean, there's more walnuts, not just one or two, but there's like 3 or 4 per brownie. This is getting out of hand. So now we're getting into this attachment phase where we've already been groomed to the point where we're willing to take a little bit. Now, if you like walnuts, my apologies, but we're thinking of walnuts as abuse. So now you're taking the abuse with the brownie. You're taking the bad with the good. That's by design, by the way. Because the ultimate objective of the narcissist, the psychopath, the dark triad narcissist, the covert narcissist, their ultimate goal is to abuse you. And what could be more abusive than making somebody eat walnuts and make them happy about it? But because they're still giving you some brownies, you're going along with it. And sometimes, eventually, you're going to come to the point and say, I really don't like that many walnuts. And you start to, push them away. So what does the narcissist do? Okay, here's some brownies without walnuts in them. Just once. So the narcissist is now treating you very kind, treating you very good, but just for a moment because they want to keep you hooked. But the next time, there they go again. There's more abuse. There's more devaluing. There's more putting you down, ridiculing you, sarcasm in public, teasing you in public. Not a fun kind of teasing, but an abusive kind of teasing to elevate their ego because they love to put you down. These are all the walnuts. And sometimes it even gets physical. But they're now, you may not even know this, but now they're going behind your back and they're trash talking you to other people because they know that eventually you are going to say, this relationship's not what I thought it was. And the narcissist knows you're going to say that, so he's, or she, is putting up a defense already to excuse himself or herself so that other people will think that you are the real problem. So what we have going on here, this is number 3, is we have punish and reward. So it's brownies and walnuts. Number 1 is they put you on a pedestal, the grooming thing. Number 2 is the attachment, and that is where, let's don't say that's where it forms. It's where the punishment and reward is accepted. Where you say, okay, I will take the walnuts with the brownies, even if it's a little bit excessive. That is where the trauma bond initiates. That is where it actually forms. And it's kind of a bait and switch, but it's really kind of slow, Number 4 is this. You find yourself now flat out, as we just already said, flat out already being abused by criticism, by being teased. Sometimes it gets to be a little bit physical. Maybe you're even bullied. Have you ever heard the phrase scoring points? People say things or do things so they can score a point against you or against somebody else. So the narcissists are scoring points. Maybe you're having an argument or whatever. And now you're thinking, how am I arguing with this person? Because this was my good friend. This was this is the person that I thought really, truly loved me, the romantic thing. So what is happening here is now you're getting, walnuts. There might be occasional brownie here and there, but, they're not bringing you brownies anymore. They're bringing you servings of walnuts. And you don't even like walnuts, Number 5 is this. Think of Pavlov's dogs. So now we've got the cycle where you're being fed constant abuse. You're being put down constantly. You're being devalued constantly. And when the narcissist senses, the psychopath senses that you are a little bit resistant to that and you may pull away, then, okay, here's some more brownies. Here's some more nice treatment. Here's some more love bombing. Here, I'm going to be kind to you. Here, I'm going to sweet talk you if it's a romance. Or here, we're going to act like buddies again. But it doesn't last very long, just enough to keep you hooked. What is this? This is called punishment and reward. Yeah, Pavlov's dogs. So they give you just enough reward so that you will sit up and beg. When they say sit up and beg. I'm sorry, but with a narcissist, with a psychopath, really, you aren't any more important to these people than a dog. In fact, a lot of them, their dogs are more important to them than you. You may as well just be an inanimate object. I like to use the term, or the example rather, of tissue paper. because you use a tissue paper like a Kleenex or toilet paper, whatever, and what do you do with it when you're done with it? You just throw it away. It's gone. It's out of your life now and forever. And you don't even remember it. And that's what's eventually, we're going to talk about this in a second, but that is eventually what's going to happen to you. But now you're hooked. Now it's already, you're hooked. It's already happened. And you're a little bit confused by this, and every time you start to want to break away from it, what comes to mind is, well, I need to. Maybe it's me. And the narcissist is going to maybe tell you this. We'll get to this in a second. But what happens is, number 6, is we start making excuses. And by the way, you see this a lot in cults. And I always think of a narcissist, a psychopath, the dark triad psychopath, as a one-person cult, and you are the member. Probably he has other members that you don't know about, but it's a one-person cult, and you are the one member of the one-person cult. And they use those very techniques on you. Well, what does every person in a cult say? They say they're not in a cult. You'll never meet a cult member who admits to being in a cult. Now, you can encounter former cult members who will admit that they used to be in a cult. In fact, I find a lot of them. And by the way, I'll say this, that I find that phenomenally interesting to listen to their testimonies, to their life experiences of what they had to go through while they were in the cult, what got them in, what got them out. And I find it interesting because it's basically the exact same thing of what happens when we are ensnared by a narcissist and we fall into his or her trap. And their cult, right? Number 7 is this. So number 6 is we make excuses. We go into that denial thing. We don't admit we're in a cult, even though, okay, it's starting to become a little bit more clear. Number 7 is we are focused on, or rather, we are accused, I should say, of being the problem. By whom? Well, first of all, by the narcissist himself. But the narcissist, remember we said this earlier, that they have begun spreading rumors about you that, you're not quite the person that he or she thought you were at the very beginning. Well, actually, they're describing themselves, but they're flipping it so that you are the bad guy. And this is stepping up a little bit. And now it's not just you who are being accused by the narcissist, but it's you who is now being accused by other people that the narcissist has influenced. And yeah, I've been there. I got to tell you, this is very real, and it's very hurtful, and it's very problematic. It's very stressful. Some people find it some people find it totally intolerable. That's sad to say, but they actually do. So now what? Well, the narcissist is convinced, or at least he pretends to be convinced, that you're the bad guy, you have a problem. And he's convinced other people who are convinced that you are the problem. So all these people think I'm the problem. I must be the problem. You know what you call that? You call that gaslighting. So number 7 really is, that gaslighting phase where you are absolutely positively convinced that the problem is not the walnuts. The problem is, the problem's me. I'm so ungrateful. This guy's bringing me walnuts and some other junk to eat. No more brownies. Well, maybe once in a very long while. Well, it's been so long since I've had any brownies from this guy, but, still, it's me, because I remember how nice he was, and then he started not being nice, and so, I obviously am the bad guy. These thoughts actually get into our heads, and it is by design. They are experts at doing this. Number 8 is eventually, there are no more brownies. There is no more kindness. There is no more consideration. There is no more love bombing, even in the slightest. Not a scintilla. There's none. Something now has got to give. What is happening now is you are in the absolute positive control of the narcissist, the psychopath. They have devalued you in your own eyes. They have devalued you in the eyes of others. And guess what? They have devalued you in the narcissist's eyes, in his or her own eyes. You're just used up, again, like the tissue paper. So what are they going to do with you? They're going to discard you. Have you ever been discarded by a narcissist or a psychopath, a psychopathic narcissist, or a narcissistic psychopath? You know how painful that is sometimes. If you are alert and you're mindful of what's going on, sometimes we are able to discard the narcissist before he or she discards us. And of course, not everyone, but most everyone that you know is convinced that you're the bad person. And when you discard this wonderful narcissist, because, these people are charismatic, they're very charming, people just adore them and love them. And when you discard the narcissist, that just confirms that you're the bad guy. But what else are you going to do? Just live the rest of your life being abused by this person? Are you going to make a clean break and try to start over? Which could take weeks or months or sometimes years, or maybe it'll never be back the way it was, because there will always be people who believe the lies, the smear campaign of the narcissist. So, number 8, there's no more niceness. The way that I like to say it, using my analogy, no more brownies. There just isn't. None, period. They're done with you. So number 9 is there will be that discard. So we have to ask ourselves this question: who is going to discard whom? And the way that I see this in my life is, I'm not a yo-yo, During that phase where we are being used by the narcissist, that trauma bonding, it's like up and down. They're nice, they're not nice. They're nice, they're not nice. Well, now we've got to the point where they're just not nice, period. I mean, they're abusing you and they don't care. In fact, they're kind of proud of it. They're kind of giddy over it. There's a thing called duper's delight, where they actually like to smirk at you because they have duped you, and there's nothing you can do about it because they've convinced everybody else you're the bad guy. And they now know that you have been duped. They don't feel bad about it. They feel good about it. That's just another way they get supply out of you. That thing that boosts their egos. It's the way that they say, their way of saying that I have outmaneuvered you, I have outsmarted you because I am smarter than you. What do you do with these people? Well, whenever possible, what you need to do is make a clean break. And I mean clean, I know it's not always possible, but get as far away, removed from them. Based upon my experience, I'm pushing 70. So I've had about 7 decades of living life in life's laboratory, dealing with narcissists, psychopaths, and I have found that the most effective, efficient way of contending with these people is the way to break the trauma bond is to make a clean break. Just get away from them. No more strings attached. None whatsoever. Again, I know that's not always possible, but when it is possible, that's something that we need to do. And if it's not possible, we need to get as close to it as possible. I'm not giving advice. I'm just telling you my ideas, what I think, what I apply in my personal life. Do you see? There are 2 rectangles on the screen, so we can keep talking, keep hanging out together. If you want, all you got to do is click on one of those 2 rectangles. We have, a couple hundred conversations like this. We can just keep going as long as you want, but if not, well, we want to thank you for stopping by, and see you all next time.